on an absolute mission to support the network in any way that she can. And I know that next year we've got so many exciting things ahead of us all. Without further ado, big round of applause, please, for the one and only Lisa Burke.
If you read my Facebook last Sunday, I thought I'd use my time wisely because I was a football widow for the day, and I love anybody listen to Sunday love songs on a Sunday morning. Yeah, well, that's normally my Sunday morning sets the mood for the day. And I thought, well, you know what? As I've been widowed for the day, I'd sit and I'd put together my presentation for today. But I had a bit of finger trouble on Facebook, and I put listening to Sunday love songs, putting together my presentation for 4G4 instead of G4G. So Michael said, sounds like you're joining some kind of security business. And every day this week I've gone into the office and said, are you still going to 4G4 next Sunday? So you know, well, I don't know, we could be perfect, can we? Set ourselves up for these things. So, but today what I'm going to do is share with you a little bit about, not too much about what's coming up. I don't know how I'm going to go through a whole day knowing what I know is happening in January and not spilling any of the beans, because we've got really exciting plans. But also just to share with you a little bit of my background. Some of you have heard my story before, so I do apologise because you only ever have one story. So this might be, by the end of it, you might be able to tell it before, tell it yourself. But first of all, coming in January, and I've put up here, get ready to be amazed, because I know we always say this, and there may be some of you sitting there, oh God, here we go, so I need to get us there, get more people there in January. What I can tell you is something really special is coming, and more towards the end of the presentation I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But what I can tell you is there's never been a better time to build your teams, because in January, when you have got people at the January showcase sitting next to you, they are not going to believe what they're seeing. They're not going to believe what they're seeing, you're not going to believe what you're seeing, because we've got something very special that's going to affect each and every one of you, that you all are going to be able to go out there and take something very special to market, to your customers, something that we haven't seen before, in my opinion, in this industry, the size of excitement that you are going to have to offer out there. So I can't obviously tell you what it is, but I can tell you it's going to really make a huge difference and really help you shape your business into some phenomenal growth into 2015. So, question, are you ready? Are you ready? Yes. Because the action, although I'm telling you that this is all coming in January, the action starts now, and it's all about what you do now in order to set some really massive foundations with your teams, and inviting people and introducing more people to the Kleeneze business now, so that you're in a position that you can really drive this new opportunity forward in January. So taking action now, not next week, not next month, certainly not in January. It's all about now, seizing the moment, and finding other people like you out there that can really seize this opportunity with you. So, as I say, I'm going to share a little bit about my story with you today. Now, you've all heard me probably say the joke before that I've been in this industry 27 years and I started when I was 5. That always makes me feel a little bit better, but it's obviously not the truth. I actually started when I was 19, so just to save you the maths, that makes me 46 now. Yeah, that would have made me feel really much better. So I'm not going to tell you all about the 46 years, because we've not got enough time, but I'm going to pick out some highlights and tell you a little bit about what my journey's been. Now, when I was first asked to share my story in Kleeneze, it was by a leader that knew a little bit about me and my past. And I said to him, yeah, but I'm really nervous to do that because obviously what I've achieved was outside of Kleeneze. Yes, I built a business, but it wasn't a Kleeneze business, and I was nervous about how that might be took by the audience. And he said to me, yeah, but what you did was you had a mindset that actually built a business and required the same mindset as everybody within Kleeneze needs to build their business, and it will help give people the confidence and really will help and inspire the network by sharing that with them. So I hope that you feel like that as I go through my story, because there are many parts of it that I do think are very relevant. And the most important thing is that I recognise within the Kleeneze business such a strengthening vehicle to move your dreams and make your dreams become a reality. So my story started here. This was me as when I was sweet. It was the swinging 60s, and I was born, funnily enough, and I was born on the 15th of May, 1968. Make that a note in your diaries. But I wasn't born Lisa. I was actually born Nicola Jane Kent. That's the first thing that many of you don't know of me. I was born to a single mother. As I say, it was the swinging 60s. She was a 16-year-old girl that was found herself in a situation where her family wouldn't support her, basically threw her out of her middle-class existence in Berkshire. She went to a mothers and babies home in London, gave birth to me, and 6 weeks later handed me over for adoption. So I was born Nicola Jane Kent. I was taken and given to a lovely family in Northamptonshire who renamed me Lisa Jane Martin. And here I am, handed over to a lovely salt-of-the-earth couple, my mum and dad, and my sister there. She was 5 years, or is 5 years older than me, and she was also adopted. So our parents couldn't have children and had created their own family with 2 children that they'd opened their hearts to. And people who know my story and often ask me the question, when did you find out you were adopted? How were you told you were adopted? And here's the funny thing, I can't give an answer because I was never told. It was part of my life. It was something that I always knew, and we were always told stories from being little of how we were chosen and how we were matched as 2 little girls that looked as similar as each other, so people wouldn't ask questions as we grew up. But we thought that that was a normal existence, and we were brought up as any normal family would love. And I just used to think, well, isn't everybody adopted? Don't everybody have this story? I used to be told this story of how they went to London and they went in one door and my mum went in the back door and handed me over and gave me to my new parents, and off they went in a taxi and brought me back to Northamptonshire, and it was just a normal existence to me. It was lovely, it was safe, and it was a really blessed environment. But what it also was an environment what I came to label it later on in life as mediocrity. I was brought up it was safe and it was normal, but what normal was in Northamptonshire. Anybody got any connections with Northamptonshire here? So you'll know that Northamptonshire is a really predominant, well at the time, shoe-making industry. So if you did well at school, you ended up going into the office of the shoe factories. If you didn't do well at school, you ended up going behind a shoe factory machine. And they were the two things you were either going to do with your life as I was growing up. And I didn't want that. I always knew that I wanted something more, but I didn't know what more looked like. But as a child, I knew that more looked like more in material terms. So things like, you know, although we had a lovely environment, it was relatively poor. We didn't have a car, so I thought more was, I want to live it, I want to have a family, I want to be, I don't want to stand around at bus stops all my life. I want to be in a family, or at least I want to have access to a car. Holidays for us as a child were going to Clacton. There's been a lot of talk on Clacton, hasn't there, this week with the elections? But that was where we used to spend our holidays, in Clacton, a week in Clacton every year. And I used to my wardrobe consisted of clothes that were handed down from my sister. And I just knew I wanted more. And I used to say to my dad, salt of the earth, Dad, Dad, there's got to be more to life than this. Why can't we have a car? Why can't we go on some nice holidays? And he used to say to me, Lisa, you know what, just be satisfied. And I can still hear him saying those words to me today. As I got older, my frustration actually intensed, and this whole idea of just being satisfied, it sort of went to a new level. And it wasn't just material dreams I wanted, it was a satisfaction of feeling like I was really making a difference in my life and had the ability to really have a different life. And my dad, and I'd say things to him like, one day, Dad, I want to be my own boss. One day, Dad, I want to live in a big house. One day, I'm going to have those things. I'm going to travel the world. And I'm going to even drive fast cars. And he used to say those words to me, Lisa, just be satisfied. You'll never be satisfied. And he thought that he was doing the right thing by trying to just get me to be happy with life as it was and not strive to just have that bit more. So he'd laugh at me in his cheerful way and he'd say, and he'd shake his head and say, Lisa, you'll never be satisfied. And you know what? Looking back on those days, he is absolutely right. I won't ever be satisfied. I'll always be thankful and I'll always be grateful for what I've had the ability to achieve. But I believe what comes with satisfaction, in the sense that I'm talking about, is also a comfort zone where you don't push yourself to be that bit to be able to give that bit more. So I don't want to be satisfied. I want to always be able to be in an environment, and that's what I love about the Kleeneze environment, be in an environment where people want to prosper, where people want to have more, to be able to offer more, and be able to show other people how they can have that better lifestyle for them and their families and the people around them. By the time I was 19, now the one thing that I was good at school was numbers. I understood numbers for some reason, so I decided I wasn't going to go into the office of the local shoe factory. I was going to train to be an accountant. Maybe that could be my passport out of mediocrity. So at the same time, at the age of 19, I started dating Tony. Tony's at the back, some of you know Tony. Now, that was quite a story because Tony was the older brother of a previous boyfriend. So it does get a bit complicated at family gatherings, and that's another story for another time. But what happened when I met Tony for the first time in my life, I met somebody that actually had the same ambition as me. The ambition to change his life, the mindset and the determination and the work ethic that goes with doing that. Because it's all very well to be able to sit there and go, we want to drive fast cars and we want to live in a big house. But if you've not got the determination and work ethic behind that to do it, then none of that really is going to happen either. So we used to talk for hours on end about what business could we have, what could we do, how could we change our lives, and we had some of the most ridiculous ideas that you can imagine. Within 3 months we were engaged, and here's us on our wedding day. We've just celebrated 27 years of marriage. One of the things that I think keeps us strong is our sense of humour. and we do like to have a laugh at each other's expenses. I did put this up on Facebook, which created quite a bit of following, because the 2 golden rules to a happy marriage: the wife's always right, and when you feel she's wrong, slap yourself and read number 1 again. So that's pretty much the advice, pretty much how we've managed 27 years. Here, just looking through the old family photos, here we are on a honeymoon. So I was sweet 19. Tony's actually, I'm going to tell your secrets, he's actually 10 years older than me, and he'd done 10 years in the British Army by this point. And I managed to find some photographs 25 years later in the same pose. He wasn't too happy about it, but that would have gone through, I can tell you. Man boobs. I told you we like to have fun at each other's expense. But the story there and the real message in our relationship, I think, is to surround yourself with positive people. And again, we know that in Kleeneze, and I know what a difference that's made to my life, having a partner that has supported me, and we've done this together. So, now that doesn't mean if you haven't got a partner that supports you, you go home and start divorce proceedings. But what it does mean is, I think it's a really important thing that if you don't, to have a really good conversation with them. And I think, and failing that, I do have a butler school, and it runs sort of every other month, so you can always send them on that. That's again a little bit of a joke, but I've always called Tony the butler because, and in a nice way, I say it's because you do everything for me. But as a butler, it means he's now fully trained in cooking, ironing, cleaning, everything that you could wish in one package. So going back to that same year as we got married, 1989, very good year, because it was also the year that I was introduced to direct sales for the first time. Now, how I wish, looking back, it had been Kleeneze. Because, oh my goodness, the vehicle that Kleeneze has is by far superior to anything I've ever seen in the direct selling network marketing, multi-level marketing world. But it wasn't. The company that I was introduced to was good old Tupperware. And at that time, a friend of mine said one sentence to me that changed my life forever. It still shapes my life today, and it took the wind from my sails and it changed everything. And that one sentence was one that you can use all of the time as well. Do you know, I think you would be fantastic at doing what I do. That's, what is it that you do? Oh, I've just started doing this thing, and she told me all about it. What, and you think I'd be fantastic at doing that? And I've never sold anything in my life. And I'd also never really had anybody, other than Tony, of course, outside of that relationship, say to me, do you know, you'll be fantastic at doing this. Because I've been brought up in this sort of, this is what you do, just do that and you'll be able to get this. But no one said, you know, do this because you'll be fantastic at it. And it was the greatest compliment anybody had ever paid me. And I thought, you know what, if she thinks that I'll be fantastic at doing this, I don't mind doing it and see if she's right. So I did. I signed up, I was really excited. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing or what I was getting myself into. I just knew that someone said I'd be fantastic at doing something. And she said, and you know loads of people, why don't you tell them that they could do it too and they'd be fantastic at doing it? Okay, I will. So do you know what happened? And this is no word of a lie. Before I actually started with Tupperware, I had recruited 8 people to do the same as what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I'd already got a team before I actually started. And very quickly, my enthusiasm was rubbing off on people, and my team was growing, and I didn't have a clue what was going on, and I'd become the fastest growing manager of all time in that business. I was presented with my company car, for a car to drive, but they didn't give cars away. You got cars and you had them replaced every 3 years. So I was presented with a car, became destination achievers, and it wasn't a great plan. I wasn't earning loads of money like had I done what I did there. In Kleeneze, I would have been earning a fortune, but I was thriving on the recognition and really the seeing things happen and starting to change in my life. Then what happened? Tupperware withdrew from the UK. It was a brilliant learning curve for me because Tupperware, an American company, was focused on their American business, not a British company like what we have in our hands, and they decided just, because of economics, that they would close the marketplace. So, there I was. I knew I had a flair and a model, an interest and something that could work. So I thought, what about going and finding some products that I could do a similar thing with and drive it through the direct selling channel. So from that, Kleeneze was born. Now Kleeneze was my company and it was made up of an anagram of Lisa and Kim. Kim was another Tupperware manager. We put our names together and pulled together a range of products, our own therapy and beauty products, and went out and started to build a business. We went into pre-launch first of all. By this time, I had 2 children. We had 2 children under 2, was it? So Claire was born and 12 months later Simon was born, so nearly under 1 actually. 2 little babies. And we started and we went into pre-launch with these products, and then I found out I was pregnant again. So we were now going to have 3 children under 3, and we had a new business that we'd just gone into pre-launch with, and all these people that were excited about going out and working to build this business. And we were like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? And we obviously had moments of doubt and thought, well, what should we do here? But we were also very, very focused on what we knew, where we knew we could take this business. So in 1993, by this time I'd had my 3rd. Now this was really typical of what was going on in our lives right then, because I couldn't find any pictures of her as a baby. I think we were so busy we didn't have time to take pictures. So here's one of her as a teenager. So Gemma came along shortly afterwards. 1993 then, we'd done pre-launch and I went to the Enterprise Initiative. At that time they had a scheme running that they'd give you, I don't know, 40 quid a week I think it was, towards helping you start a business. And I went on a 2-day course, I put a business plan together. At the end of it you had to be interviewed. And I remember going into this room and there was this, well, he felt like he was ginormous, this guy, because I knew how powerful he was in the world of the government. And he had this great big desk and he looked at my business plan and then he looked at me and looked at it again and he was shaking his head, and then in the end he said, do you know what, I think you've got your decimal point in the wrong place. And I said, really? He said, yeah, how are you going to manage to achieve these numbers with 3 children under 3? I said, I'll do it. And he said, okay, do you know what, I'm going to give you the money, but I'm going to give you it with the words of caution, because just be careful, because you're really, really overstretching yourself here. I said, okay, thank you. So I walked out and thought, do you know what, I'll show you. So then, I've got in here Enterprise story. Then, I'm going to move on a few years and I'm going to come back to tell you what happened or how it all happened. But it did all go well, and we did end up achieving that business plan. Not only did we achieve that business plan, we actually doubled the number on that paper in our first year. And as I say, I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But one of the things, the lasting things of that story that sticks in my mind is, as a result of what we achieved, in 1999, I was awarded Young Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. And it was a really special night of being nominated for this award. My dad had obviously followed my journey, and my dad was my hero. Even, you know, from what I've told you about him, he was still the solid influence in my childhood. And I said to him, Dad, you know, I've been put up for this award, and it's at the Metropole in Birmingham, and it's going to be a great night. Eamon Holmes is going to be presenting the awards, and I don't expect to win anything, but I'd love you to come along. Now, my dad had worked in a shoe factory for 50 years, he'd had his gold watch, and, you know, that was his life. And he said to me, oh, well, yeah, that would be nice, but what would I wear? And I said, well, it's black tie event, you know, it's tuxedo, and he'd never worn anything like that in his life. So I remember taking him to the shop, and we got him fit out for a tuxedo, and he was absolutely so proud that he was coming to this night. And we got there in Birmingham, and we were put on the back table. We got a table taking friends and family. We were put on the back table, and we walked in, and it was just like all glitz and glam. And I looked at all the different people in all the different categories, and the winner, for example, of the retail category was Steve Smith, who built the Poundland empire, and there was like people there from telecom companies, you know, multi-millionaire people. And I said to my table, do you know what, this is really out of our league, but we're going to have a great night. Don't worry, you know, I think it's this competition, because I didn't want anybody to feel like disappointed when you got to Young Entrepreneur of the Year. The fact that I was in the Young Entrepreneur category, you meant to be under 35, so I was quite excited about that. And the fact that we're here, that we've been nominated, is brilliant. So we sat on this table and got to Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and they called out my name. And first of all, I gave Tony a hug, and then I looked across at my dad, and he was crying. And that was just such a moment that I remember to this day. And I ran to the front, got my award, Eamon Holmes, TV, it was just like pulled out to the back, and interviews and everything. It was absolutely brilliant. Then later on that night, I got tapped on the shoulder. We were having a drink, champagne and all the stuff. And it was the guy from the Enterprise. And he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, congratulations, you proved me wrong. And I said, I didn't set out to prove you wrong, I set out to prove me right. Thank you. So, of course, there was a lot of stuff that happened along the way to get us to that. And one of the big things was making some really big decisions. Big decisions, do we play it safe? Do we take a risk? And back in 1993-94, when, you know, we had nothing, we'd scraped everything together that we had to start this business, and we had got this little bit of support from the government. We were starting to buy our first house. We had a small bit of equity in our house, but that was all that we had. I had a business partner, Kim, who didn't have the same vision as I had. All she wanted to do was have a little party plan business. And I saw a vision to have a giant direct selling network marketing business. And it was never going to go that way with a partner that wanted to have just this small business. So we sat down and said, right, what are we going to do? Are we going to just bail out because we can't, go forward, or do we take some risks? So we decided to take all the risk. We took every penny we had out of our mortgage. We took every credit card that we could get money from, because the banks wouldn't lend us any money. I said to Tony, if we're going to do this, you're going to have to give up your job, because we can't do it unless we're both doing this completely full time. So we took all the money out and paid off the partner, because it wasn't going to work with her being around. Tony handed his notice in at work, and the whole of the community wanted to have us sectioned. Because we lived in a really small community in Northampton, small village in Northamptonshire. Our family, our friends, the whole village was saying, "Are you crazy? You've got 3 small children under 3. Your husband was in a secure job that it was a Commonwealth-owned company. The only people that left, they either died or they retired with the golden handshake. People didn't leave this company. Why are you mad?" And you know what? We said no. You know what? If we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. We had all our eggs in one basket. What we couldn't say was, "We'll see how it goes." What we couldn't say is, "We'll try our best." They were mindsets we could not have. All we could say was, "We have to make this work. We have to be 100% committed all of the time, and we have to have 100% belief all of the time. There's no other option, else we lose." And it was a big loss. And so we knew to do that, me in particular had to be 100% driven on introducing people to this business and fast, getting people into our business at a phenomenal rate. And that's what we did. Everything I did had to be either about recruiting and sponsoring and supporting people. If it wasn't that, someone else could do it, because that was how we were going to grow the business. That was the magic formula, because we had to do it. And what we put into that mentality was true success came from helping other people being successful. So as we were building up the numbers, as we were duplicating the numbers, it was all about working with other people to find out the things that they wanted from their business, helping them be successful, and then the numbers worked. The numbers kept duplicating. The other thing that we absolutely drove throughout our business was about imagination. Imagination was more important than knowledge. You've probably heard that saying before, but you know, it amazes me that even in today's education system, nobody has worked out how important imagination, dreaming, vision, entrepreneurialism is. You know, they spend so much time teaching kids simultaneous equations. And it drives me crazy, because although, you know, for the mathematicians in the world they may be important, how many people in the room has ever used simultaneous equations? I knew you'd put your hand up, Tony Burke. But everybody should be shown and given and taught and allowed to imagine and dream the things that they may feel at that time are impossible, but to have that and to be mentored through that from childhood, I think is really important. And we really taught that in our businesses and through our teams. So dare to dream. True leaders dare to dream every day, and then they put those dreams into goals, and then they turn those goals into reality. But it all starts with daring to dream. And then the final thing, and I could talk for a long time on this, but the final thing we had in our business, and again I love it because it's here in Kleeneze, we had loads of fun. I believe that a business that creates enthusiasm, energy, commitment, drive, all of those things, the first thing that stands a growing business apart is that they're having fun, because that's the food of driving that growth, the fun and energy. So we made sure that we have that in our business. So work hard, play hard, which is why I'm always up for a bit of fun. And this is something that I believe there's only one person that can tell you you can't, and it is you. and you don't have to listen. That's the great thing about that. You don't have to listen to yourself if you're telling yourself you can't, because you can. And life is a series of problem-solving opportunities, and I can tell you probably hundreds of stories of problems that we've turned into solutions. One of my favourite ones is the pottery story. Some of you have heard this one before, but as part of our business, an important product to us was the pottery room burner. You know, we had essential oils and you put them in your burner. And we had a supplier, a UK supplier, and we got all our burners from this UK supplier. And it was like, I don't know, 40%, 50% of every order had these burners in. And Tony got a phone call one day from the supplier and said, "I'm really sorry, but we've gone out of business." Tony came through to my office and said, "Sit down. What? Our room burner supplier's gone out of business." So I'm not sure which came first. It was either screaming or crying. I'm not sure which way around it was. But after I calmed myself down, I said, "We've got to find a solution. Because they've gone out of business, and if we don't find a solution, guess what? We're going out of business." And we haven't got this far. So what we did, it's the raw we now. What we did, didn't we, Tony, is he got on to the powers that be, and we managed to get a deal where we get the electricity back on. We took on all of the rates and the machinery, and we did a deal sort of going forward on the turnover of the business, and we got the pottery back up and working. But that was okay. But what are we going to do tomorrow when we need room burners? No good getting the electricity turned on, we need to get some production going. So at that time I think we'd got about, I don't know, 40 people packing orders for us in the warehouse. So I went out, put on a bit of charm and said, "Hey guys, how do you fancy learning how to throw a few pots?" After they'd looked at me and thought I was just having one of my mad moments, I said, "Okay Lisa, if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do." So we got in our cars and we drove over to the pottery. It's a bit like a scene from Ghost. Patrick Swayze there and Demi Moore here. And we worked the night out with the potters that had gone out of business. They came along, they showed us how to throw pots, how to get them in the moulds, how to get them into the ovens, how to get them out again. And we made our pots and we kept ourselves in business. It was a way of overcoming a really difficult time and finding a solution which would have resulted had we have just sat there and carried on crying and saying, "Do you know what? There's nothing we can do about it. It's outside forces, nothing we can do about it." Actually, there was, for every opportunity, everything that's thrown at us, there is an opportunity. We actually got that business back up and running into profit. We took on British Home Stores and we went out and we got contracts and we ended up selling the business and making a nice profit and continuing to keep our main business in good working order. So, I think some of the other lessons I've learned along the way is not to try and be too much of a perfectionist. And this is something, to be honest with you, I struggle with this every day. I am naturally, I beat myself up if things don't go quite the way I saw they were going to be. And I try and I fight with myself and I go, "Do you know what? It doesn't matter. Strive for excellence, but do not try and be perfect. Because perfection is not duplicatable." I always get my teeth. Did I say that right? Duplicatable. It's not. People don't like you actually to be perfect because they look and think, "Do you know what? I couldn't do that. I couldn't do what she's just done." So it doesn't matter. Does it matter? Will it matter in 5 months? Will it matter in 5 years? Chances are not. It won't matter a thing. Nobody will remember. Just strive for excellence, but don't beat yourself up. And you know what? Yes, our business did grow at phenomenal rates, and we were growing 100%. We built the business over and it expanded into 8 countries, and it was a real phenomenal success story. But you know, What is so amazing about Kleeneze is the vehicle within Kleeneze is 10 times better than the vehicle we had there. The vehicle and the income plan that we had there, both when I started my life in direct sales and even built our own company, was still inferior to what you have here. And it is the moment I saw Kleeneze, I've known of Kleeneze for a lot of years, but the moment I really saw it and really looked into what it was all about, it was a light bulb moment to me. It just wowed me away. When I saw the income plan, I can tell you, it's the best in the world, and I've seen most of them. The income plan in this business is phenomenal. The system to duplicate is just incredible because it's so simple. Anybody can do this business. And the way that individuals can come in and make money straight away is just phenomenal. So, sharing Kleeneze, or the way that you do, changes people's lives too. And yes, mine was a different vehicle, it changed our lives, but Kleeneze can change your lives in exactly the same way. The result of never being satisfied for us, and these are the material things, we changed that small 3-bedroom house that we took that small equity mortgage out of, and we managed, this is our house today, we managed to move to a country property, 4 acres of land with its own swimming pool, and we certainly, from a material point, that was something that we were able to say, yes, we've done it. We changed our Ford Escort. Anybody here had a Ford Escort? Brilliant cars. Now, Tony's ambition in life, or from a car ambition in life, was to drive a Jaguar. And it was a few days before Christmas, and I've been massively busy, and the business was so successful, and we were really reaping the rewards, and it was Christmas coming up, and I was like, what am I going to buy Tony for Christmas? And I thought, you know what, I'll buy him a Jag. And I walked into the Jag garage in Northampton 3 days before Christmas. Now, apparently nobody buys cars 3 days before Christmas. So they were all sitting around drinking mulled wine and doing the things that car salesmen do 3 days before Christmas. And this mad woman walked in, and I said, I want to buy a Jag for Christmas. And they said, right. And I said, but one more thing, I can't see how it says, say 5, thank you, I can't see either. I refuse to wear glasses. I want to buy a Jag for Christmas, and I said, one more thing, it's got to have helium balloons on it. So they thought I was potty when I wanted the Jag, and then when I said I won't have it unless you can put helium balloons on it, they really thought I was back from somewhere else other than the real life. So anyway, I said, okay, and so I said, all right, well, which one do you want? And I said, I want that XK8 convertible. So, and I wanted to delivered into my warehouse, and I want it all decorated with helium balloons. So Christmas morning, got up, I gave Tony private number plates for his Christmas present, and he was very happy with his private number plates. He didn't know what car they were going on, I thought it was going on his car outside. We got in the car, we drove, picked my mum and dad up, went to Wellingborough, to where we were going to go for Christmas lunch, driving towards the office, and I said, blow. I've forgotten table gifts. We've got to go to the warehouse, Tony. He said, no, it's Christmas Day. We don't go to the office on Christmas Day. Yes, we do. We've got table gifts. We get to the office. We park the car. We get out the car. My mum and dad get out the car. Tony's like, don't get out the car. We're late. We're not going in the office. And I think, in a minute, you're not getting this bloody car. Anyway, he gets out the car, goes into the warehouse, and this car is there. Felt always familiar, it still makes me choke up when I think about it. He burst into tears, and I said, but you can't drive it because we're late. So this car, and he had the biggest indigestion he had ever had that day. He walked out his Christmas dinner. He couldn't wait to get back. These are how the holidays changed. He actually walked, this is actually real life. This was in Mablethorpe, one Easter. 3 children under 3, no heating, in a caravan. and I've been married to him for 27 years. But that's what holidays used to look like. And now we've managed to travel the world, first class, Caribbean cruises, Maldives, etc., etc. And then the big one came when we were able to buy our second home in Spain. There's our villa. 2006, I've only got 5 minutes, I've got to go really quickly now. 2006, great big lesson. Anybody seen Wife Swap? Yes. Anybody seen me on Wife Swap? Yes. Okay, well, they came to me for 2 years. They kept saying, please do Wife Swap. No, I can't do Wife Swap. In the end, when they said, yeah, but we'll get your brand in front of 5 billion people, yes, I can do Wife Swap. And the other thing they said, you know what, I'll give you some assurance here. It's all about wanting to show women that they can have a happy family life and also build a successful business. I thought, that's a good thing to go on for. How silly was I? They say we only have a little spark of madness in us. Mine's a bit more than a little. I get to Liverpool, because of course they're going to put me into Liverpool. Anybody here from Liverpool? Yeah. Right, okay. Where do you think I went in Liverpool?
Bootle.
Norris Green. Oh, yeah. Lovely. So I went to... anybody here from Norris Green? No. So I went to Norris Green. I got there. They said that Vinny, my husband, said, make sure that you shut the door behind yourself. The cats get out, they get shot. I said, what about the kids? He said, oh, they can play outside. Oh my God, I've got no credit cards, I've got no laptop, I've got no mobile phone, I've got no way to get hold of anybody. What am I going to do? Anyway, I haven't got time to tell you the full story. Maybe you'll have me back some time to tell you the whole gory details. But the moral of the story is, at the end, you know how they sort of like, you all fall out and then you all make friends again and then it all has a happy ending? Well, our happy ending was that I got Vinny to turn his photographic hobby into a business, or at least we went and done an exhibition in the Arndale Centre or wherever it is, if you call that business, and we sold some of his pictures, and he was so chuffed with himself. He actually said on camera, Lisa showed me something that I never thought was possible, because I've actually been able to do something with my hobby, turn it into money, and I feel so fulfilled as a result of that, because I can actually do something different in my life. And it was really fulfilling, actually, until 3 months later when they come back and film you what's happened in the follow-up. And of course, what had happened in the follow-up, if he got back with Nancy, she didn't have any teeth, and of course, she didn't want him to have this ambition and do this. So he went straight back to where he come from. And so the moral of the story is, as we all know, how important that supportive environment is. These are my kids today, and for me, my story is all about this. Yes, those material things are so important, of course they are, because they're it's the token mark of the success that we've made. It proves that we've been able to do things to change our lives by the things that we have. But the thing that's more important than anything to me is that what we've been able to teach our children is the freedom to fly. The freedom of passing down to them, understanding a work ethic and a mindset that if you believe in yourself and you're prepared to take that belief and put it into into a situation where you can make things happen, you don't have to make do. You don't have to live a life of, well, things like that don't happen to us, because they do, because they can, because they have, and because they will. And that is the most important thing to us, that we have instilled that and passed that on to our children and the many lives of people around us that have been touched over the years. So it has been an amazing journey. 2009 we sold business. We decided we were going to retire. One of my ambitions in life was to retire by the age of 40. I did it by the age of 41. I did it for 6 months. It absolutely drove me crazy. It drove Tony crazy, even more than it drove me crazy. So it lasted for 6 months. 2010, 2011, I decided to start doing consultancy work, indirect selling companies, which is why I can tell you we've got the best income plan in the world, because I work with very many of them, helping them with their plans and their strategies in direct selling and also network marketing companies. And then Kleeneze came along. And as I say, it was a light bulb moment. I've worked in these other companies, I built my own company, and I saw this business that just took my breath away. And I thought, blimey, I knew of Kleeneze, of course I did. I'd been on the direct selling board of directors for 12 years. I'd sat on the board with George Pollock, going back to George Pollock's time, and I knew all about Kleeneze, but I didn't really know about Kleeneze. I knew about its success, but I didn't really know what drove this business. And when I looked at it, I was just blown away and thought, you know, I really, yes, I want to be part of this, because I can see the vision, and I can see not only the history and the great past that the business has had, I can see the vision for the future for us to take this to massive, massive growth. So, as I say, January is going to be simply amazing. It's not all hype. It's not all to get you there to the January conference. It's really, really exciting, believe you me. And I know that we are going to have the most exciting future together. The opportunity is there. Believe me, it is just getting better and better. So my last piece of advice to you is, we know when we hear things, we forget them. We see them, we remember them a bit more. But it's not until you do them that you really understand them. It's not until that moment that the power really exists for you to be able to take what you've just done and share it with other people and really create that phenomenal difference and that phenomenal change that you have in your hands in this amazing, amazing vehicle of Kleeneze. So finally, the only limits in our life are those we impose ourselves. Thank you very much.